Welcome, my children. Figure 7 here. I figured, since it is the month of Halloween, it would be best to look at a film that involves one of the season's most iconic figures. That being Count Dracula. Okay, I'm not talking in that tone of voice through the entire review, mostly because those teeth are giving me a hard time. Right up there with the Wolfman and Frankenstein's monster, Dracula is the character we tend to think of the most when we think of Halloween. He has appeared in various forms of media. Some of them good, and some of them not so good. But what happens when you put Dracula against one of the most iconic heroes in all of media? You get the Batman versus Dracula. Now, I know that sounds like a ridiculous title for a film, but then again, there have been plenty of versus films in the past that were decent to just bizarre. So, how does this film hold up? Will it be as awesome or ridiculous as it sounds? I guess there's only one way to find out. This is the Batman versus Dracula. Before I begin, I should mention that I've only seen a few episodes of The Batman, and while I don't think it holds up as much as Batman the Animated Series or Batman the Brave and the Bold, I found it to be a pretty good series with only a few flaws. Anyway, the film begins at the Arkham Asylum where one of the inmates tries to make a deal with the Penguin on breaking out together.
I am willing to split the take 50-50.
Huh?
If you can get us out of here.
And where might we retrieve our little nest egg?
But before he can give the details, one of the prisoners has escaped.
Goodbye, Arkham! Hello, Gotham!
This alerts Batman, and he goes off to catch the Joker, as well as the Penguin, who has also managed to escape. Funny thing is that a lot of people seem to really not like this version of the Joker, and while I still prefer Mark Hamill's portrayal in both the animated series and the Arkham game series, I personally do like this version as well. His design is really cool for one thing, with the crazy hair, the fingerless gloves, and the fact that he doesn't wear shoes.
This time I'm out for blood, Batsy.
By the way, that's Kevin Michael Richardson voicing him, who has also voiced countless of villains, like Gantu from Lilo and Stitch, Skulker from Danny Phantom, and Viceroy from Randy Cunningham North Korean Ninja.
Batsy, you're such a card.
I mean, come on people, it's a lot better than Jared Leto.
I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
Tweet.
However, if there's one thing I can't agree with most people, is that this version of the Penguin isn't very good. Now, I do love the Penguin, particularly Paul Williams' version from the animated series and Robin Lord Taylor's performance in Gotham, but Tom Kenny's portrayal in The Batman just doesn't really cut it out for me. I mean, I have nothing against Tom Kenny. While his most famous role has been SpongeBob SquarePants, he has also voiced a variety of other cartoon characters, like Starscream in Transformers Animated, the Ice King from Adventure Time, and Commander Peepers from Wander Over Yonder. So he has had plenty of awesome roles, this just isn't one of them.
When you old featherbrain, what brings you out of Arkham?
So the Penguin tries to make a deal with the Joker, but doesn't go well when the clown uses his zapper on him.
You really know how to shake!
Not long afterwards, the Dark Knight himself shows up and the chase begins. While that's going on, the Penguin arrives at the Gotham Cemetery. He then stumbles upon a mysterious coffin, thinking that it has valuables inside. And instead of loot, it's a corpse of, well, guess who?
What's that?
Yep, the Penguin has awakened the King of Vampires himself. Meanwhile, the fight between Batman and Joker continues, which ends with Joker falling into the river with his brother still on. Elsewhere, the Penguin continues to flee from Dracula, but the vampire ends up attacking around Night Guard, which then becomes undead himself. Dracula then asks Penguin to have him serve him, and by asking, I mean hypnotizing him in order to do so.
I'm Penguin. I'll be your server.
Back at the Batcave, we see Batman is remorseful over the loss of Joker.
Alfred, tonight Joker met his demise.
It really does show Batman's character. Sure, he hates the Joker, but he does have to value all human life, just like a true hero should. Isn't that right, Cool Cat?
My daddy says, what goes around comes around. That'll show him.
So the Penguin tells Dracula that he is no longer in Transylvania, as Dracula explains his origins.
It seems after I was vanquished, my remains were relocated far from Transylvania.
Meanwhile, Batman goes on a date with Vicky Vale.
Nearly 40 minutes and haven't bolted for the door. Well, Bruce, I'm sure you can imagine how 4 false starts at an interview might make a reporter feel rejected.
And if her voice sounds familiar, it's because she's voiced by the lovely Tara Strachan, who has voiced... well, I think we all know who she has voiced by this point. But unfortunately, the date has to be cut short when he gets called in. It turns out that some of the citizens of Gotham are missing due to Dracula's right hand spreading their virus. The Penguin informs Dracula about Batman, which gives the vampire an idea. Later that night, the party begins at Bruce's mansion as Dracula arrives.
Truly magnificent.
Oh, my necklace? It's a family heirloom.
And you are?
Alucard. Dr. Alucard.
You call my master a sow and expect me to let you live? I'm afraid that I'm just going to have to put a bullet in you, you foolish little...
No, not that Alucard. Although, that would make this movie 10 times more awesome.
We spoke of my work. What of yours?
Research and development. For instance, the Wayne Industries SL5. It's the most efficient technology to date for collecting solar energy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and make an assumption and guess that device is gonna play an important role later on, right? That's what I thought. Dracula then tries to hypnotize Bruce so he can attack him, but Alfred snaps him out of his state. He then comes down to one conclusion.
What are you writing? His name. Alucard.
So then Bruce and Alfred come to the realization that the Lost Ones are being infected by Dracula and head over to a medical lab to look for a cure. We then see Vicky looking up on Bruce's past.
It's not hard to imagine why you're out to save the world with science and all your charities. The question is, when will you let someone rescue you?
You know, it is a shame that Vicky doesn't appear in any episodes of The Batman. You can tell here she does deeply care about Bruce and wants to help him. She then gets a call from her crew as we get this little bit of news.
It seems Gotham PD may have new information regarding the mysterious disappearances, thanks to an eyewitness who has this to say.
I saw what got the guy. Saw it with my own 2 eyes. It was a bat. I saw a huge shadow of a bat.
As such, Gotham PD has concluded that the perpetrator behind these bizarre abductions is none other than the Batman.
I don't know, it could be the only other person that has an obsession over bats. So yeah, not only does Bruce have to save the Lost Ones and defeat Dracula, but he also has to clear his own name and prove he is innocent. Gee, does that sound familiar? This news also catches the eyes of Dracula. How on earth did Penguin get an HD TV to work down here?
Oh, the girl. You have been in the grave a long time, Master. Nice jugulars.
You know, for kids! I guess I shouldn't complain. It's a more subtle boob joke than...
Are those melons real?
So, Batman arrives to the cemetery, where a SWAT team arrives to blast some bullets into him. And when I say bullets, I mean actual bullets, unlike lasers in the show. Before the SWAT team can blast Batman, Dracula arrives and makes a proposal to him.
No concept of the harm of which I am capable, if only because I really hate to waste a life when it can be spent in servitude to me.
Life or living death?
To become vampire is to heighten all of one's senses, to attain speed, strength, and immortality.
Batman declines, a big fight breaks out, and before Dracula can finish off Batman, the sun comes up and the vampire retreats. Bruce returns to the Batcave, where later that night he gets a nightmare about the night his parents were killed. I'm not much of a comic book reader, but wasn't it the Mask of Zorro that Bruce saw that very night? Anyway, Penguin goes to wake up his master when he runs into a surprising face.
Everyone's so shocked to see me these days.
What?
Surprise! By the way, who knew electroshock therapy could be so invigorating? But that's all water under the bridge, 'cause Joker's back from the grave.
So as the Joker chases Penguin, he stumbles upon the coffin where Dracula has his first feast of the night.
Breakfast in bed. Fresh squeezed.
And if you thought the Joker by himself was horrifying enough, try a vampiric Joker. And despite being a vampire, Joker is still keeping his insane persona.
A bold finish of wild cherries with a hint of oak.
How is that possible? Is it showing that the Joker is so mad that not even death can overcome it? Is it like that Gravity Falls episode where Seuss gets bitten by a zombie and he still is his childish self?
Sorry, dude, I just really want those brains.
It isn't long until Batman arrives, and a pretty epic fight between the two begins, which eventually leads to a pretty horrifying yet awesome scene. This was released on Cartoon Network, which kind of makes you wonder how on earth did they manage to release this and somehow get away with showing this much blood? Well, the answer to that is very simple. Make the blood black. I'm not joking. Apparently in some cases, an animated film or show that's meant for a younger audience cannot portray blood unless they make it a different color other than red, because apparently it's supposed to look less graphic. Granted, that hasn't stopped some films or shows to show some red blood, but whatever. So Bruce takes Joker back to the Batcave, where he uses him as a test subject to find a cure for vampirism, which is a really good formula when you think about it. A lot of times in Batman films or shows, they tend to have Batman be all gruff and tough to defeat the villains. Yet in the Batman and in this movie, they have Batman fight the villain, lose to the villain, do some research on how to defeat the villain, fight the villain again, and then defeat them. Very great formula because that's what makes Batman such a great detective and crime fighter. Unfortunately, due to all the vampire research, makes Bruce forget about dinner with Vicky.
Vicky. Astonishingly, she still speaks the world of you.
Again, how come she hasn't appeared in the show after this? Eventually, Bruce finds a cure for Joker and asks him about Dracula's whereabouts. Batman suits up to take down Dracula once and for all, but then he gets a call from Vicky. But before he can return the call, Dracula has captured Vicky and plans to use her to bring back his undead bride. It isn't long until Batman arrives and uses his antidote against the Lost Ones and uses a bomb to stop the soul transferring. I'm not sure that's how it would work, but then again, if the Winchesters can use a certain type of gun to kill vampires and demons, I guess anything is possible. So as Batman and Dracula duke it out, Penguin chases after Vicky.
Knock, knock. Here's Ozzy.
Hey, it's a lot better than...
What are we gonna do with this shrimp taco? Just Bubba capping his ass, throw him in the truck, and then nobody gonna know nothing.
I'll get you next time, Revenge of the Fallen. Next time. The fight leads to the Batcave, where Bruce uses that solar machine against Dracula, finishing him off for good.
Fatality.
With that over, Penguin gets blamed for the capture of the Lost Ones, everyone is back to normal with no memory of anything before, they get saved, and Batman's name has been cleared. That was the Batman vs. Dracula, and honestly, it wasn't that bad. Sure, it does have some flaws and how it took some artistic liberties to vampire mythology, but it does have some awesome action scenes, pretty good animation, good voice acting, and a lot of really creepy imagery. Seriously, this turned out to be way darker than the show. While the title does sound a little goofy, but it is far from it. I mean, come on, it's a lot better than other Batman vs. films, am I right? Overall, if you are a Batman fan and want to see him fight vampires, this is the perfect film for you. This is CK97 saying have a happy Halloween! See y'all next time.
The house is kinda spooky. I search behind the wall. I spy this creepy spider. He slowly starts to crawl. I move a little closer, and what do I see? Hairy legs and beady eyes staring back at me. Creepy creatures, like in the movies I see. Creepy creatures, but they're not on TV. They're right next to you. They're right next to me, and I like them, like them, like them. They're as real as can be.
Creepy creatures all around, in the air and on the ground. Check your closet, check your sheet. Careful where you put your feet. Creepy creatures,
Like in the movies I see.
creepy creatures.
But they're not on TV, they're right next to you. They're right next to me. And I love them. I mean, I love them. They're incredible. Look at that. I'm totally into this. They're awesome. Look at this one. Did you see that?
Well, that was fun. Who's for Chinese?